Okay, on this one, I'm going to go over scatter plots and positive, negative, and no correlations. This is worksheet 1-2.10. Take a minute and look at these four and try and write down if you think that what kind of correlation it is, positive, negative, or no. And if there is and if you can, if there is a positive or negative, draw the trend line. Well, this here, if you see, it looks like from left to right, it's going down. Okay, so if I drew a trend line, it would go in about like this. That means that it is negative because it is declining. What about this one? Can I draw some kind of trend line? Can I draw a line that maybe goes through all these points? Well, I can't seem to hit in all of them. This one right here would have no correlation. This next one, if I draw it from left to right, it looks like it is declining. That is a negative correlation. Then the next one, if I draw this one and from left to right, it looks like it's inclining. So this is a positive correlation or association. Next, let's figure out if it's positive or negative from the words. Let's see if I can spread this out a little bit. Give me some room. The first one, let me cover this up. The first one says the amount of time studying and your test score. Well, the more you study, what normally happens to your test? The better your test. Think about it like a positive times a positive. That's going to give us a positive correlation. A person's birth month and their height. Well, if you're born in October, are you tall? These two don't have anything to do with each other, so this is no correlation. They don't go together. They're independent of each other. The next one, it says the pace of a jogger and the incline or steepness of a hill. Well, think about this, the steepness of a hill. The steeper the hill, what happens to the pace? When you're going up a really steep hill, are you going to go faster or slower than if you went on a less steep hill? Well, the steeper the hill, the slower you're going to go. Well, think of it like a negative times a positive, and that's going to be a negative correlation. Next, the amount of pollution in a river and the number of fish living in that river. The more pollution that's in a river, what's going to happen? The less fish that are going to be living, because more are going to die. So less fish will be living. So again, a positive times a negative, that is a negative correlation. The amount of rainfall, so the more it rains and your percent of winning a lottery ticket. Huh? These are independent of each other. They don't go together. That is no correlation. The amount of time spent working and the amount of money earned, especially in an hourly job. The more you work, the more you make. A positive times a positive. This is a positive correlation. The next one. Take a minute, pause the video, and then come back and see how you did. Okay, it says Kirsten recorded the time she has spent reading and the number of pages she has read. The data is displayed in the scatter plot below. Based on the data in the scatter plot, predict the amount of time that it would take Kirsten to read 50 pages. Well, when it's just a scatter plot like this, first off, what kind of correlation does it have? It is positive because from left to right, it's inclining, it's going up. We need to draw a scatter plot. I'm not a scatter plot, sorry, a trend line. So I'm going to take my line and I'm going to try and draw it in between all these points. The points just help me guide to get my trend line. Now what you're going to do, it says when how much time will it take to read 50 pages? So I'm going to go out here to 50 pages, and I'm going to go up to my line. And then I'm going to go over, and it looks like it's between 45 and 50. Well, that answer would be A. Sometimes it'll be a little bit off if your trend line's off, but you should have had a pretty steep trend line. The next one says based on the graph. Okay, you have to look at the graph. Answer the statements below true or false. First off, remember that this is the X, this is the Y. This is the independent. The number of pages read is independent. The time reading is the dependent. We need to remember that Y depends on X. It means that the time reading depends on the number of pages. It says the reading time depends on the number of pages read. The reading time depends on the number of pages read. Yeah, that's what we just wrote right here. So this would be true. The number of pages read depends on the reading time. Pages read depends on the reading time? Nope, we just said that that was false. Now, you have to go off of the graph, so you have to decide what's X and Y on the graph. The number of pages read depends on how tired I am. Okay, well, it may be true for you, but according to this graph, that's not what it's talking about. It has nothing to do with how tired they are. It's just the number of pages read and the amount of time reading. Here's the next one. Predict pool use if the temperature reaches 105. Okay, first off, I have a scatter plot. My trend is going up. It's increasing. It's positive. They already have the trend line. So now we're going to go in here and find when the temperature is 105. Let's see, 70 to 80. So they're going by fives. 85, 90, 95, 100, 105. Now you need to go all the way up. This point means nothing. Go up to the line and then go over. Go up to the trend line. Go to trend line, not the point for your answer. Now I go up here and it looks like it's over 200. What do they go by? 25, 50, 75, 100. So 200 looks like it's a little bit more than 225. So it's C between 225 and 250. Next is what is the independent quantity? Remember, independent is the X. Here's the X. Here's the Y. Independent is the maximum daily temp. Daily temperature. Next, right here, predict the number of pages that will be printed. Again, we have a trend. It is a positive trend. And now we need to use this line to find our answer. So after 4 hours, how many pages? So go over to 4 and go up to your line and over. It is 20 pages. After 10 hours, how many pages? 10 hours, go up, 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 up. Oop, I'm trying to do a straight line. And then over. That is 50 pages. Now it asks us what is the dependent quantity. Dependent is the Y. This is X. This is Y. Y is the number of pages printed. Next, it says to graph the data, draw a trend line. Remember to label the axis and what is your independent quantity. Okay, we're going to have years of education and income. So right here, I've got years of education, and this is going to be income. So let me get my little dots here. It says 6 and 16. Go over to 6, Go up to 16, put a dot. 8 and 17. Over to 8. What does it go by? It looks like it goes by 4s. So just about in the right area. 10 and 21. 14 and 36. 16 and 42. 20 and 51. What kind of trend does this have? It's positive because the more education you have, the better your income is. Well, now let's draw our trend line. So I'm going to take my line and I'm going to draw it through the middle of all the dots. It does not have to start at 0, 0. Okay, that's something you need to remember. You want to just draw it the best you can. The independent variable, the quantity, is the x. This is my x. This is my y. So it should be years of education. Next, let's answer these and solve for the variable. First thing I'll do right here, I'll add 92 to each side. I get 17x equals 102. Divide by 17. X equals, and it says leave non-integer. What does integer mean? Remember, integers mean whole numbers. So if you get a decimal, we're going to leave it as a fraction. So let's look here. We've got 102 divided by 17. My answer is 6. Okay, well that's an integer, so I can leave it alone. Next, I'm going to try and get x by itself. This 3 is positive, so to move it to the other side, you have to do the opposite. So I subtract 3 from each side. 10 minus 3 is 7. These cancel, and I have negative x. This is like a negative 1x, so you need to divide by negative 1. Negative 7 equals x, or you write it as x equals negative 7. The next one, I want to get the x by itself, so I need to move the 4. I'll subtract 4 from each side. I get negative 2 equals negative 10x. Divide by negative 10. Be very careful. I have a lot of people that tell me, oh, what am I doing here? Because I was thinking about what I was going to say. I have a lot of people tell me the answer is negative 5. It is not. Negative 2 divided by negative 10. Look. Negative 2 divided by negative 10. Oh, let's see here. Didn't want to click here. Enter. That's 0.2. So, but it said to leave it as a fraction. So press math, enter, enter, and your fraction is 1/5. So 1/5 equals x, or you write it as x equals 1/5. The next one, this one says, let's see if I can make it a little larger. This next one says, solve for h. Get h by itself. Well, what's on the same side with the h? The y is. It's a positive y. To move it to the other side, you do the opposite. So you subtract y from each side. These cancel. And I get h equals 2s minus y. This is your answer. This one here, It says solve for P. I need to get P by itself. So this P is right here. The first thing I need to do is move the minus 6x. I need to add 6s, I meant s, to each side. These cancel. I get 3p equals 12y plus 6s. You cannot put these together because those variables are not the same. Now you divide by 3. These cancel. P equals 12 divided by 3 is 4y. 6 divided by 3 is 2s.